Well, hello, all good people of the world. This is Paul Wittekind returning to you today with the universal law of numbers. And what we're going to speak about today is the revolution. So basically, the universal law of numbers, it's revolving. It's revolving in this direction because we know that 1 through 9 goes 10, 1 and 0 is 1, 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 is 3, and so on. And of course, that continues on to infinity. And if we were to go in that direction, it will go minus 1, minus 2, and that same sequence will continue on to infinity. And the same thing applies to all of the lines going across. Because if we square a number, it will reduce to that number. And if we get to 9, it will be 9 times 9 is 81. Then it'll be 10. 10 times 10 is 100, and 1 plus 0 is a 1, and that will continue on to infinity, as well as cubing a number, taking it to the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th power, where it reverts again back to this spot, and it keeps on continuing and revolving and revolving and revolving. So one thing I'll point out here is that what we see is we see a directional change, because if we see this, it's 487512, but here it's 487512. So at this point right here, the whole thing changes direction. We see that it's 714, but over here it's 417. Okay, so basically what we need to understand is any number that we ever encounter in our world, whether it's in the past or in the future, that number, no matter how many digits it has, it will reduce to a number between 1 and 9, and it will, at that point, behave like that number it reduces to. So I call, for instance, 11 is a 2, but you might consider it a 2 number, because an 11 is not really a 2. An 11 is an 11, but it will behave like a 2. And if we were to square 11, we would get 121, and 1 and 2, and 1 is 4. So just like 2 squared is 4, 11 is 4 as well. 20 would be a 4, any number that reduces to 11. So 7 and 3, for instance, is 10, but 7 and 4 is a 74 is an 11. So if we were to square 74, it will reduce to a 4 as well. So, okay, so let's understand how this thing works. 1 plus 4 is 5, 7 plus 7 is 14 is 5, 4 plus 1, 41 is 5. So if I add 14 to 77, since 5 plus 5 is 10 and it reduces to a 1, then 14 plus 77 will reduce to a 1 as well. If we add 41 to that, since 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15 and reduces to a 6, 14 plus 77 plus 41 will reduce to a 6. And if we say 149 plus 779 plus 419, well, that's 5 plus 5 plus 5 as well, which is 15. And if we add those numbers up together, they will also reduce to a 6. So that's the universal law of numbers code, and it's the 369 code, and these are the codes, and I go over them. They're the numbers 2, 5, and 8, the numbers 1, 4, and 7, the numbers 3, 6, and 9, and 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1 is the 369 code because we get the 3s and the 6s and the 9s through them. 181 and 818 are also a code. So what we're going to look at here is, let's look for the 369 code. 4 and 8 is 12, 1 plus 2 is 3. 7 and 8 is 15, which is a 6, and 1 and 8 is a 9. 7 and 5 is 12 is 3, 4 and 2 is a 6, and 1 and 8 is a 9. 1 and 2 is a 3, 1 and 5 is a 6, 1 and 8 is a 9. So that's the 369 code, and what it is it's a perfect manifestation of what I refer to as the fundamental law of mathematics, of the fundamental law of nature, because it is Mother Nature, and it's a perfect system. In our world, in our universe, everything has a relationship with everything else. And there's a perfect relationship. Now, as far as nature is concerned and the universe is concerned, it's perfect. What people are doing in it certainly may not be perfect, but the universe itself is a model of perfection. So let's see how the numbers work. 2 times 4 is 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64, times 2 is 128, and 1 plus 2 is 3, and 8 is 11, and that reduces to a 2, and 256 times, 128 times 2 is, that's 256. And 2 and 5 is 7, plus 6 is 13, and a 1 and a 3 is a 4. So there's a revolution. And this thing revolves and revolves and revolves to infinity, and it's always perfect perfection. If we do it with the 3's, 3 times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81, times 3 is 243, times 3 is 729, times 3 is 2187, times 3 is 6561. So the 3's are revolving like that. And when it's doing that, they're giving us the codes. 4 goes 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, 6 and 4 is a 1, times 4 is 256, times 4 is 1,024, times 4 is 4,096, and times 4 is 16,384. 1 and 6 is a 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 8 is 18, plus 4 is 22, and 2 and 2 is a 4. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125, times 5 is 625, times 5 is 3,125, times 5 is 16,600, no, it's 15,625, and times 5 is, it's 78,125, 7 and 8 is 15, plus 1 is 16, plus 2 is 18, plus 5 is 23, and 2 and 3 is a 5, and it will revolve like that to infinity. 6 times 6 is 36, times 6 is 216, times 6 is 1296, times 6 is 7,776, times 6 is 46,656, times 6 is 279,936. 7 times 7 is 49, times 7 is 343, times 7 is 2401, times 3 is 16,807, times 7 is 117,649, times 7 is 823,543, 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 5 is 18, plus 4 is 22, plus 3 is 25, and 2 and 5 is a 7. That's how we get the 7 there. 8 times 8 is 64, times 8 is 512, times 8 is 4,096, times 8 is 32,768, and times 8 is 262,144, times 8 is 2,097,152, 2 and 9 is 11, plus 7 is 18, plus 1 is 19, plus 5 is 24, plus 2 is 26, 2 and 6 is an 8. And that's how we get that one there. And this 9 times 9 is 81, times 9 is 729, times 9 is 6,561, times 9 is 59,049, and it goes to 531,441, and then it goes to 4,782,969, and all of those numbers will always reduce to a 9. So that's how it's revolving like this. Now, also, we see the repetitive codes because we see the codes. We have 1, 4, 7, and 2, 5, and 8, and 3, 6, and 9, and that's what's going on there. You can see them. I showed you 3, 6, and 9 that one way, but 1, 4, 7, and 7, 4, 1. And we have 1, 8, 1, and 8, 1, 8, 1, 8, 1, 8, 1, 8. And we have 1, 7, 4, and 4, 7, 1. And we have 1, 7, 4, and we have 5, 2, and 8. And we have 1, 4, and 7, and we have 2, 5, and 8. So they do change directions, and there's a reason why they do that, because it's a perfect system. It's a machine. It's a perfect machine, and it never makes a mistake. It's a universal calculator. It's a universal language. So all of this code is based on this very simple principle. It's the numbers 1 through 9. And all mathematics is just a manifestation of the numbers 1 through 9. And it doesn't matter if it's algebra or trigonometry, geometry, calculus or statistics, probability and statistics. It's all just a manifestation of the numbers 1 through 9. Now, what we have in this universal law of numbers is a demonstration of geometry. Now, we could call it symmetry. Okay, it's symmetry, but symmetry is mathematics. Mathematics describes symmetry, and if it's an asymmetrical object, maybe we're going to use calculus to try and arrive at some sort of approximation using integrals to basically measure it in, take an asymmetrical object and try and make it symmetrical. But you can just see with the numbers, this is just this. And what I do is I fill in the box with the number, and by doing that, you're going to come up with every type of geometrical, symmetrical arrangement that there is. And that's just the number grid. And we see the geometry and the symmetry there. And we see it in many, many ways. We see it on the universal law of numbers grid, so I'll just show you it like that. And I'll do those. We're not going to dwell upon that because I just did a video on that. But just quickly take a look at them. So by connecting the dots in the universal law of numbers matrix with the codes, we will come up with symmetrical and geometric arrangements. And that's what geometry is, and that's what trigonometry does. And this just does it by simply connecting dots, and we're not using any sines or cosines or tangents or square roots or anything like that. You can quite obviously see that we're arriving at these symmetrical arrangements. So the beautiful thing about the universal law of numbers code is that it describes mathematics in a universal language with these numbers 1 through 9, and it makes sense out of the whole study of mathematics, and that applies to science as well, because it's physics, it's chemistry, it's biology. They're all just following the 369 code as given in our universe, and we can call it nature. And if we want to understand nature, well, this will help us to accomplish that a lot, because that's what it is. It is. It's the perfect universe, and it's Mother Nature. So now that we've seen those, I'm going to get on to what today's discussion is all about, and it's about the revolution. Okay, so here's another way that we can see the revolution take place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call these columns going down codes, because they are codes. All of these are codes. And these codes are very universal. For instance, one thing I can point out to you is if we add up 487 and 512, we're going to arrive at 999. If we were to add up 784 to 215, that will add up to 999. If we were to add together the numbers 1, 8, and 1, and 8, 1, and 8, we would arrive at the number 999. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take this column and I'm going to multiply it against the universal law of numbers code. Then I'm going to take this one, multiply it against the code. Then this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we're going to multiply it against the code, and we're going to see how it results in the code. So all I do is I take that, and obviously that will result in the identical code. And what we're going to notice is that this number right here, or this column right here, has 487512, which is the second column, and I've done it in orange because I'm going to try and point out how the code always follows the code. So now we're going to take the code and we're going to multiply it by the next line column going down, the 487512 column. And when we do that, we see that the 487512 goes to the first position, going down. And then we're going to multiply by the next column here. We're skipping the 9s because when you multiply by 9, you get 9s. And that's self-explanatory. And what happens when we do that is that 487512 column goes to the fifth position. And then if we go to the next one, 784215, and we multiply that by the code, then we're going to see that the 487512 goes to the fourth position. And then if we do it by the next one, which is 417, okay, it's 417417. We're going to see that that line 487512 goes to the eighth position. And now when we multiply it by the next line, which is 181818, then it's going to go to the seventh position. And what I'm going to say there is that's the 248751 code. And I can just show you what I mean by that. I'll do that quickly. Okay. Turn that up. You don't need to see any of that. Give me a second. Okay. We have 7 and 8 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2. And that's the 248751 code. 215487. And we see that 215 or 487. Okay, very good. So that's the 248751 code, and that's the 369 code. And that basically displays for us a revolution. That's what it is. It's a revolution. Now these numbers, they always fit into their exact places, and they give us this symmetry, and I'll show it to you in numbers. I'm going to put that over here. So what do we have here? Well, what we have is 1 times 2, and 1 times 2 is 2. So 1 times 8 times 1 times 7 is 2, because it's 56. And 5 and 6 is 11, and 11 is 1 plus 1 equals 2, which is the same as 1 times 8 times 4 times 4, which is the same as 1 times 8 times 7 times 1. Okay.